seems that to not act on it is to also say the county doesn't really care. You should make that point that the county should care.
All right, it's 5 p.m. on December 18th, and we're ready for the Community Development Committee meeting. So we'll call a meeting to order. I'd like to start with the attendance, please.
Jerry Van Sumeren,
Present.
Ryan Shirley,
Present.
Scott Counter,
Present.
Carrie Rice.
Present.
So we have a quorum. We'll start with the first item is approval of the minutes. Does anybody see any needs for changes for the minutes as drafted from the previous meeting on November 20th, 2025? Okay, we'll move as drafted. Next item on the agenda is any public comment. With the public comment this evening, if there's public comment that goes, that is not in respect to the two conditional use, well, the conditional use and the request for a rezoning, those items will be doing separately as the public hearings come up. But if there's any public comment other than that, and I see we do have one item from Celeste. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Yeah, I have a public comment on your business agenda, item 6, which is to get an update on a rezoning request that has been made to the Village of North Hudson to rezone a parcel which is surrounded by properties that the St. Croix County has an ownership interest in, either 100% or partial joint ownership. You all know from reviewing lots of rezoning requests that neighbors have interests in what happens regarding a rezoning request. And in this situation, the county is in the position of being an abutting property owner. And the county has interests that would be affected by the rezoning or not rezoning of this parcel. I urge the county, through the Board of Supervisors or however you have to do it, to express its opinion as an abutting and surrounding property owner to express your opinion as a property owner to the Village of North Hudson Board of Trustees on this rezoning request. And I urge the county to do that because if this rezoning is approved, it will negatively affect, it will harm the public health, safety, and general welfare. It will do that because if you look at the written comment that I provided, there's a print from St. Croix County GIS that shows the orientation of the 3 parcels. So as you know, the one that's being requested for rezoning contains the old trestle bridge, but St. Croix County is an owner of the 3 parcels that abut it, both on the St. Croix side and on the Lake Malibu side. And on the St. Croix side, that parcel contains the large dam that creates the Lake Malibu impoundment of the Willow River. And in order to access that dam, for which the county as a 50% owner has responsibility in protecting our public health, safety, and general welfare, you must cross the Trestle Bridge property. There's no other way to get to that dam for maintenance, repairs, and eventual removal and replacement, and there's no other place to stage work. If a request to rezone it to allow residential development is approved, that will create a new and very significant land use conflict. Any residential development is going to block the necessary access whenever access is needed, and there are emergency situations in which immediate access will be needed. That's a very significant reason that this parcel should not be rezoned to allow any residential development. Other reasons are that the county has identified interests that it holds in this area through both its comprehensive plan. In the natural resources chapter, the county has goals that say the county has strong interests in conserving, preserving, and enhancing natural resources. The county has identified this area as being a primary environmental corridor that includes both the properties it owns and the Trestle Bridge property. The county also has identified interest in the transportation chapter of the comprehensive plan in implementing the bicycle and pedestrian trail plan, and that does include some possible future plans for this area. And also in the outdoor recreation plan, which the Board of Supervisors unanimously adopted at last month's meeting, there are multiple goals and objectives that would be impeded in accomplishing should there be any residential development on this property. So I'm not saying you should be telling the Village of North Hudson what to do as a unit of government. I'm saying as an abutting property owner and as a property owner that has an interest in protecting our public health, safety, and general welfare, I think it's incumbent upon the county to express its opinion to the Village of North Hudson, because otherwise they're not going to take it into account. And the Village of North Hudson ordinances regarding the decision standards for rezoning requests say that rezoning is to be done to protect the interests of the neighbors, the general public, and the village. It's not supposed to be done just to benefit one particular property owner who's asking for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Celeste. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak during the public comment period? Anyone else for public comment? Okay, we'll move on then to public hearing number 1, which is for a conditional use request for Cynthia and Corey Basil in section 14 of the town of Emerald for a home occupation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Cynthia and Corey Basil request a conditional use permit for a major home occupation in the R1 residential zoning district pursuant to section 15.345 of the St. Croix County Code of Ordinances. The property affected is located in section 14 of the town of Emerald, and the address, which most commonly known by, would be 1587 250th Street, Emerald, Wisconsin. A Class 2 notice was published in the Star Observer for 2 weeks prior to the hearing tonight, which satisfies the hearing notice requirements. And then we also notified the adjoining property owners within 300 feet of the property. As of 4:30 today, we had not received any comments from the surrounding property owners. So the total lot size is 23.21 acres. The applicants are requesting approval to operate a party supply rental business from their property. The business includes storage of the party supplies on site in an existing shed that's roughly 3,200 square feet in size. And then they take and deliver those supplies off-site as a rental. Consequently, there will be no parties or events held at this site, and there is no public storefront that would be available for the public to come to the property. The application is somewhat vague. They say that they'll maintain normal operating hours, and they have not really defined whether or not the business is year-round or seasonal. And there was no mention in the application of any employees or how many traffic trips would be included in the business. Again, and that the applicant believes that they will not be generating a significant amount of noise, traffic, or waste though with this use. They are planning to call themselves, or they call themselves 3B Rental. And again, all of their trips are going off-site for their deliveries. There's no lighting proposed, and that besides what's already on site. And there's no signage either. So moving on here, the blue highlighted parcel is that 23.21 acre parcel. You can see it's pretty much mixed between open and wooded area. There is a small parcel here to the northeast of the parcel. That is the town of Emerald's recycling center or collection. I'm not really sure what they do there, but it looks like there's just some bins that people can drop off. There's a few houses to the south, but going over to the west, and that, again, mainly wooded. Most of the surrounding properties zoned all R1 as well, so it's a fairly remote, unpopulated area. Here is their current home that is shown on this CSM map, and then here is the existing shed that they have. It's a significant ways off from 250th Street, so we don't have a lot of concerns about parking on the road or deliveries on the road. There's ample room on site. Here is an aerial image, and that from the county's website. Again, there's the home. This is the accessory building where they would be storing the materials, and here's where they would be doing all of their loading and unloading of the trailers. Even as of tonight, the town of Emerald hasn't provided any comments to the county, which that is not completely out of the norm for the town of Emerald. So we take that they have not provided any comments as they have no objection to the request. And that summarizes up the staff report, and I'll take any questions that you may have.
Is there any questions from any other participants from the public that are here on, either on behalf or against this? Is there, again, anybody that wants to speak on behalf or against this during the public hearing? So seeing none currently, is that
Correct.
okay?
They don't have anything to add.
Yeah, if anybody here, and
I would make a motion.
we can't do that, we're in a public hearing. Yep, that's okay. No, so, at this time then, we'll close the public hearing for the conditional use request for Cynthia and Corey Basil in section 14 in the town of Emerald for home occupation, and we will go to business item number 1 being the same. So at this time, we're
Thank you,
open.
Mr. Chair. So now on the screen is the findings of fact, which is basically what we just went through. Conclusions of law, we believe that the applicant says that all business supplies will be stored in the accessory building on site, so that should maintain safe and healthful conditions. The prevention and control of water pollution, since they're not disturbing any land with this activity, that is not a concern. Existing topo and drainage features and any existing vegetation on site will not be affected with the proposed use. With respect to environmental corridors, there's only a small amount of wetland on the very east side of the property, so the proposed use is not near any wetlands, floodplains, or navigable waters. Erosion control on the site, again, because they're not altering the land, we don't see any problems with that, with the proposed use. The current use in that would be served by 250th Street and that which is a town road. So, and all their loading and unloading would be off the road. The need of the proposed use in that area is in that they are catering to residential parties, graduation events, that kind of stuff. So it could be that they have a use. Compatibility with uses on the adjacent land. It's primary a rural area, so there's not a lot of housing in the area. And if they keep the business clean, self-contained, we shouldn't have any issues with adjacent compatibility. Since there's no employees or extra sanitary waste that would be generated, and that their existing sanitary system would be adequate, trash would be contained on site. We don't believe that this would be a source of pollution, since it would be stored within the building and probably just tables and chairs and tents. So on those findings of fact and conclusions of law, staff would recommend approval of this CUP to operate a home-based business for a party supply rental on these 9 conditions. The first one is that the applicant will be responsible for securing any local, state, federal permits, licenses, and approvals. So if the town did have something in that, they would still fall into that. They would have some protection. Also in that there'd be no parking, deliveries, or pickups on 250th Street, which I don't think is going to be an issue because they're quite a ways off the road. Vehicles associated must comply with the town road speeds and weight limits, which the weight limit probably shouldn't be a problem either. Trash will be contained on the property. Property will be kept in a neat and orderly manner. Storage of all their supplies associated with that business be limited to the existing accessory building on site. Up to 3 trailers can be stored on site at one time. And then adequate loading, unloading areas for trucks shall remain at the end of the driveway near the accessory building. And then the last 2 are kind of our general conditions that they transfer to any new owners of the property and that staff can take and have access to the property if needed to investigate for compliance. I just wanted to confirm with the applicants on these conditions, and they said that they farm as well. And so the 3 trailers is the only condition that they have a question about. And so I guess they have like livestock trailer and other trailers that are associated with the farm. And so if the committee would so entertain maybe 3 business trailers or trailers that were tied to the business would maybe be something in that would clarify that, and they would be able to comply with that modification. They've only got 1 right now, so they would actually have quite a bit of expansion if needed.
So that would be the recommendation. Do we have a motion to get things started?
I make a motion that we okay the conditional use permit for Cynthia and Corey Brazil in section 14 of the town of Emerald for home occupation. It's a pretty remote area. I don't look for it to be any problems. Again, they farm already. They're a mile north of Emerald Dairy, so there's much more traffic on County Road G and on that corner. And for those reasons, I would make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and second.
Just a quick question with our motion.
Oh, go
Do
ahead.
we need to include that change with the trailer in his motion? He did, okay, we're good.
Yeah.
All right. So we have a motion and a second to now discussion. Just had a couple of things. So noticed in the picture for the outside storage, and yes, we can definitely work with the trailers, but if we go back up, and there you go, that was the wire, that was the one. Noticed on the, whether that be south or, as I look at the picture, if north is the top, yeah, that area that you're pointing out, so that would be considered for outside storage then, for trailers?
Yeah, I personally haven't been to the site, but it looks like they're storing some of their farm equipment in that area. So, but all business-related party rental supplies would be stored within that, building inside.
Okay. So does that include the trailers then, or would the trailers be out in the parking area there?
I guess, I don't know.
Can I speak?
Yes,
So where that gray shed is lower,
please, yeah.
so where this gray shed is, down here, there's a driveway because my father-in-law owns where that pond is. We actually park the farm trailers down there. So then up here is where the business stuff would be housed and stored.
Trailers would be inside or outside?
Trailers would be outside.
Okay,
Because we also do have some farm equipment that we also put inside the shed as well during winter and stuff like that. So there would be farm equipment in there as well as our business stuff.
Can you say your name too?
Cynthia Bazil.
thank you.
Thank you.
Should have, while you were up, one of the other things was the hours of operation we normally, do you kind of have an idea on your hours of operation?
I guess right now, we kind of do like the normal business hours, but if somebody reaches out, we kind of go based on the needs of what our clients would be, just because graduation parties and stuff like that, weddings and all that kind of happen on the weekends. So we try to, in the contracts that we're coming up with and looking into, we typically have that information of the needs for the clients, hopefully 2 weeks prior to at least the needs minimally. So, and then we would drop off, because we all do work Monday through Friday, so we would drop off typically if it's a weekend event, we would drop off Friday evening for what they need, or depending on what we have going on as well.
Sure.
So,
One of the things, you know, that it gets, to stay consistent with what we've been doing with conditional use permits, if we can have just a report back, I'm not going to require this as part, I wouldn't make it a requirement right now, but to stay with consistency, having those hours of operation for what you're doing, and just be known during the hearing here, or during the community development meeting, that typically we are cautious on, you know, that it isn't run 24/7, so that there's off hours, so that it doesn't cause friction with any, I know that your neighbors are far away from you, but it's just, again, it's staying with consistency.
yeah, we are trying to run that 8 to 5 type of thing.
Sure.
So that's typically what we're going with.
And
So-
you're probably gonna be out a little bit later than that, but it's just, again, that we're being cognizant of that issue, so something just to give some of that detail then to the community development director.
Okay.
It wouldn't be the hours that you take phone calls, it'd be the hours that you're actually loading or unloading on the
Yes.
site.
Okay.
So it's probably more,
On a Friday night, are you coming back by 9?
Well, we would hope we would be home before then, especially if it's just like a drop-off, set up a tent, just because we're typically done with work by 4 o'clock, so we would hope to be home by 6 PM. And then we would pick up, if it's a Saturday, we'd pick up the stuff Sunday mid-morning. So it's not late, we're not late people.
Sounds good. Thank you.
It's like 8 a.m.
and
to
chair
8
counter,
p.m. would be
Yes.
fine.
8 a.m.
doesn't-
to 8 PM, I would say, to be safe.
yeah. Attaching hours outside of making a condition doesn't do anything.
Yeah, well,
I mean, if you wanted
I
part of the
just want to stay
conditions, you
with,
should
oh,
add
go ahead,
it.
I'm sorry.
If you wanted part of the conditions, you should add it into the conditions. I mean, just stating it doesn't carry any weight into the future.
If it becomes, well, then the question would be, do we need to do a review for the future? But again, with the situation with this, and if we don't have any, the town, you said the town hasn't done anything to put any requirements or conditions with this?
Correct. We haven't had any input from the town for or against the request, but I believe if you wanted to, you could add a condition that says 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and the applicant would be fine with that. And then you've got at least something in it to prevent 10 o'clock or midnight traffic.
If we wanted to stay consistent. Then the last thing I have was, currently, it looks like you don't have employees, is that correct, or?
No.
Okay,
So when I submit the application, I think it went under my husband and I, but it's actually Tana Bazil, who is my husband's cousin. We are 50/50 owners in it.
sure,
So it's just us two that would be running it,
that's,
so.
yeah, that's all owners, so it's not a problem, okay. Do we want to leave it as is, or do you want to add that other condition? It's up to you.
If you'd feel better with that, I just think that it's gonna happen when it happens, and we can put, it's kind of like what Ken said, we can put numbers on them, but it's gonna happen when it happens. And then that's why I didn't see a need for that. So I'm okay with what it is. Again, remember I said, and you've known too, it's a rural area. And he farms part-time, so then basically we're telling him, you better not farm after 8 o'clock either, because that old international tractor is gonna make a lot more noise than a pickup and a trailer.
No, and I'm in agreement with what you're saying, and the area is, I'm not worried about that. Where I get concerned is that if we do one thing one place and then we're not doing it here and we don't stay consistent down the road, that's where it can cause issues for us, the county, for enforcement.
I guess in this situation, I'm okay with it. I think that being in a more rural location, not like some of our other ones where they were in developments, housing development, and 2 or 3 acre lots, it's a totally different story. And I think with these conditional use permits, you don't necessarily, in my mind, I guess, you don't need to have consistency with all of those things if we're looking at them individually as a broad scope anyway. I think we need to tailor them to their individual needs, so.
So is there any further discussion on this one? So, bring her to a vote then. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. Thanks for coming in. So, next we'll be opening a public hearing for the rezoning request for Christine Melby in section 29 in the town of Stanton to rezone 40 acres, for a little over 40 acres from Ag 1 to Ag 2.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members. This next hearing is for a rezoning request by Christine Milby, and this is for property in the town of Stanton, located at 1549 200th Avenue. The request is to go from Ag 1 to Ag 2, and primarily the difference between the two zoning designations is that the Ag 1 allows one dwelling unit per 40 acres, where the Ag 2 allows 2 dwelling units per 40 acres. Also in the ag districts, as the memo states, allows all ag uses. So really the difference between the two is the development density. The Ag 2 zoning is being requested by the applicant to create a second dwelling unit or a parcel that would accommodate a second dwelling unit. That second parcel would be 3.01 acres off of the 40 acres. The remnant parcel would be 37 acres. A certified survey map would be required to separate the parcels, and there is a draft of that later in the presentation. Both the Ag 1 and Ag 2 zoning districts are considered certified farmland preservation zoning districts, approved by the Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection, or DATCAP. And that's a significant issue because by virtue of both districts being certified, they both allow property owners in those areas to qualify for tax credits. And that's a big issue for some of the towns in that area. The big criteria that towns are concerned about is that for all the area in the farmland preservation plan within the town, so for instance, the town of Stanton is primarily zoned Ag 1 or Ag 2, 80% of that area has to be Ag 1 or Ag 2. So these towns are very conscientious about making sure that they don't fall under that 80% threshold. So Ag 1 or Ag 2 suffices. So from our perspective, Ag 1 or Ag 2 are interchangeable, and we'll show how that corresponds to the comprehensive plan in just a moment. Next, we'll take a quick look at the location map. This parcel is located about a mile northeast of the city of New Richmond off of 200th Avenue, and it's just northeast of an unnamed lake within the town. And then taking a little bit closer look, you'll see the existing parcel outlined in blue, the existing homestead right here. The secondary unit would be created in this wooded lot, or this wooded area of the lot on the north side of the parcel. And then again, this is the draft certified survey map. You see that lot 4 would be the 3.01 acre parcel that would be created by virtue of the rezoning and the CSM approval. Real quickly, just taking a look at some of the general features of the property. The subject property outlined in blue is currently zoned Ag 1 in the lime green. The parcel is bordered by properties in the vicinity, both Ag 1 and Ag 2. You'll see to the south, the darker green property, that's outlined for the zoning of conservancy, and that represents the Erickson Waterfowl Production Area. That's a 466 acre property owned and managed by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. As I mentioned earlier, taking a look at the comprehensive plan, in the state of Wisconsin, rezonings are required to be consistent with the comprehensive plan as laid out in state statute. And basically, a comprehensive plan is a series of maps, goals, and objectives that guides the future growth of an area or jurisdiction. So in this case, we took a snippet from the town of Stanton comprehensive plan. You'll see the subject property at the point of the red arrow with the red dot. And the comprehensive plan designates this area as ag, forest, and grassland. And their plan designates this area or description as being a category that promotes a continuation of agriculture as a primary use and is the dominant category in their comprehensive plan. So again, the town of Stanton is very agriculturally conscientious. Next, we take a look at the St. Croix County Comprehensive Plan. And as part of our comprehensive plan, we include the Farmland Preservation Plan, as I talked about in the introduction. And this is a criteria that a parcel has to meet based on land evaluation and site assessment scores. These criteria were developed by the Soil Conservation Service and the U.S. Department of Ag as a means to identify productive ag lands. And going back to the top, some of the characteristics that are weighed are soil productivity, slopes, soil types, and the land use policy of the comprehensive plan. The properties are then scored, and then these scores are transposed onto the farmland preservation plan map. This property specifically is located in the Farmland Preservation Plan map area. So the request to rezone from Ag 1 to Ag 2 would be consistent with our comprehensive plan and the Farmland Preservation Plan. Real quickly, we'll just walk through the natural resource features. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the 466 acre land owned by the Fish and Wildlife Service is outlined as a waterfowl protection area. The subject property is also included within a shoreland area, and that's defined as an area within 1,000 feet of the high water mark of this water body, and that's outlined by this green hashed marcation on the map. And basically, if there's an impact to 10,000 square feet of excavated area, the shoreland area requires a land use permit to make sure erosion control is established for the property. There are some intermittent streams on the property that flow from northeast to southwest. You see these blue intermittent streams. They're only active during high precipitation events and then during snowmelts. There are no floodplains or wetlands on the site. Next, taking a look, we show some of the productive farmland areas on the site based on soil types, and then areas of gravel and sand deposits. Governmental agency review. The Town of Stanton Board met back in August, on August 14th of 2025, and they did recommend approval of the rezoning request. Some of the goals and objectives that were referenced as supporting this request is to preserve productive farmland and support managed growth. And as you saw earlier, the lot that they're proposing is within that wooded area, so they're not really impacting any of the productive ag land that's currently being farmed. And then the St. Croix County Plan references a couple policies to preserve farmland and to maintain and grow St. Croix County's ag industry and to enhance the rural landscape, and to guide and manage development patterns that will preserve farmland and promote ag development. Next, we look at the zoning does not conflict with the St. Croix County Land and Water Resource Management Plan. Those are the topics we just reviewed. And that development of the property will be in compliance with the land division, which is the certified survey map, or the CSM process, which, if pending zoning approval, they would have to go through approval process for the certified survey map, compliance with Chapter 15 zoning and Chapter 16 shoreland zoning. Next, we just take a look at the applicable statutes, consistency with the St. Croix County Comprehensive Plan, the Natural Resource Management Plan, the zoning ordinance, that the town has approved the rezoning request, and that the rezoning does not constitute spot zoning, which it does not. Based on these findings and town approval, staff would recommend approval of the rezoning amendment from Ag 1 to Ag 2 based on the following findings: that the town of Stanton and the St. Croix County Comprehensive Plans include future land use map and farmland preservation plan map designations, along with the corresponding goals that support the rezoning change to the Ag 2 district. The rezoning does not conflict with the St. Croix County Natural Resource Management Plan, and that the town of Stanton has formally recommended approval of the application. For notification, we did post this hearing in 2 successive weeks of the Hudson Observer. We also sent notices out to property owners within 300 feet of the subject property. We also sent a notice to the DNR because it's within 1,000 feet of a navigable water body. The DNR did send an email to us indicating they had no comments on the rezone. And within your packet, we did get one letter from an area property owner that had concerns with the request and encouraged the committee to deny the request. That was included in your packet. That concludes the overview, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
John, just a question. So 3.1 acres is going to be broken off of this 40-acre piece. There's 36.9 acres left. Could more pieces be broken off of that, or does the 2 houses off of the 40 acres in Ag 2, does that end it? I mean,
That's the limit.
that's the limit. So that larger piece that's left could not be subdivided.
Correct.
Okay,
The only
that-
way it could be is if the applicant would go to the town, amend the comp plan. The next level of zoning up from Ag 2 would be R1.
R1,
And
okay.
that supports 4 units per 40 acres or 1 unit per 10 acres. And I, just looking at the comp plan, I don't know if that would be supported based on the current town comprehensive plan.
Okay, thank you.
So before we go any further here, is there anybody here that wishes to speak on behalf or against this request for rezone? Come on. Just state your name and stuff for the record, please.
I'm Joe Granberg. I'm the surveyor that's doing the work for this. Just want to make myself available for any questions that I may be able to help with.
Is there anyone else here that wishes to speak on behalf of the rezoning request, either for or against? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and move on to item 2 in the business items. So the ordinance of amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance for Christine Melby in section 29 in the town of Stanton. So look for, okay,
I will make a motion to approve the rezoning request and the ordinance amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance for Christine Melby in section 29 of the town of Stanton.
we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion and second. Any discussion, questions, anything? Go ahead.
I did have one question as I was reading through the packet. I noticed that the township approved this quite a while ago. Do we know why there was such a delay in getting that here?
I may have the applicant's representative answer that one.
So I'll try to take you the short way around the barn. Jeremiah Melby, the son, had this idea, Mom and Dad, hey, I wanted that piece of property. Called me, I said, well, the first thing you gotta do is take the temperature of the town board, because I know Stanton is an ag township, and I don't know how they're gonna feel about the rezoning. So he went through the process of getting on the agenda, went to the meetings, and just boom, boom, Mr. Hesslink and his crew just said, yep, we don't even need to see you again. And so I had a waiting list of about 2 months before we could get to the work. And so here we are, end of December, finally wrapping this up. If I remember correctly, he was actually at the meeting in July when the township said, yep, we don't have a problem with this. So hope that answers the question.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll have a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So any nays? Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming and representing the owners. All right, the next item we have on the agenda is an update on the XL Energy 10 Mile Creek project.
All right. Well, I thought I had a cover memo on this agenda item, but it looks like it is not in the packet, so I definitely apologize for that. But we haven't had the Excel Energy 10 Mile Creek project on our committee agenda for a couple months. And so in November, at the November County Board meeting, the county board passed a resolution to use Atoli's law to take and help negotiate the joint development agreement. And so Atoli's met with our corp council staff right after that county board meeting, and they also met with Excel. And since then, Atoli's has been working on creating a draft of a red line draft of the joint development agreement to then send off to Excel. One of the concerns that the county board had addressed was the emergency response plan. And so I do know that Atoli's has met with Terry and Natasha from our emergency management to kind of better understand what our capabilities are in this area for that. Then at the December county board meeting, and that Bob Denton and that Excel's karst geologist was here to present. And basically you guys had that presentation. So currently the JDA is still in our park and that, so we have not sent that to Excel. But I just wanted to make sure that we had it on the agenda so that we were keeping the public up to date because we've received a lot of feedback from them, and to know that we're not trying to hide anything. So the PSC docket, and that was opened up on October 21st, 2025. So we are coming up on that 60-day window and that where they could potentially file. I believe that Atoli's is kind of waiting in that to see that application material when it's submitted, because the county board has had some concerns about if we're approving a JDA that says we're going to have a screening plan, for example, and that what does that mean? And so so the whole rush or timeline on getting the JDA completed is kind of extended until that application is submitted. Any questions on this update? And again, I apologize, it wasn't in there because I know I typed up basically what I said, so.
So currently, we're kind of running for our point of contact is all going through Corp Counsel. So she's the one that's doing any direct contact with
Correct.
Atoli's.
Only Heather is contacting Atoli's. And so one of the things, and that too, I forgot to mention, so the docket number is 4220-CE-190. And currently, there's 3 documents that are filed on that document, or on that docket number with the Public Service Commission. The first one is the engineering plan cover letter, and then the engineering plan, which provides more specifics about the project. And then there is one public comment from Fran Comrie, and that has been filed so far to this point, and I believe that is in opposition, so. But we'll keep trying to take and summarize what is in that docket and that as we keep this on the agenda going forward, so.
So I'm assuming at this point, the docket's still pretty vague. They haven't any design criteria or any of that stuff that you've seen.
Yep, it's from very high level, 11,000 foot level, so, yep.
Okay. Is there any other questions? Case, go ahead.
I guess that would be a question more for Heather, but she's not here. But do we know, is Atoli's scheduled to come back and give us an update on how that process is going, or are we waiting until we get a little further? Do we have an idea of that yet?
So, yeah, so the goal is to have this red line version of the JDA, send it back to Excel, see what Excel is willing to maybe modify or tweak, and then we'll have that JDA, we can bring that back, and maybe at that time would be a proper time to have something from Atoli's at least on, you know, what they see as still an issue or a concern that the board should have, or maybe everything is gonna be perfect.
Is there any other questions? All right, well, thank you, Jason, for
Okay.
that one. And We'll move on to the update on the land use ordinance enforcement. Well, if,
Yeah.
thank you, go ahead.
So I'm going to take this one too. So in July of 2024, we reevaluated our land use team. And so the county's strategic plan originally identified one of the goals underneath the natural resource section as to expand the enforcement of land use ordinances and basically evaluate the staffing to do so. And so with our other land use staff, the priority is generally permitting. So as we get into the summer months, permit numbers go up, and that takes their priority. Compliance falls off, and that to kind of the back burner. The problem is that once that happens, and that now we're several months later, and that before we're following up on some of those compliance issues, and if it goes too long, we almost have to take and hit the button to take and start over. And so when we looked at this, we specified Abby's position to be focused on code enforcement so that it wouldn't fall to the low end of the priority list, that it would be her primary function. And code enforcement is not a very fun job. So we tried to take and, couple probably the worst job in our department and potentially even across the county, except for law enforcement, with some of the best parts of the job. And so Abby also works with Patty on our aquatic invasive species work. So she spends some time out on a boat throughout the summer. And she also does a lot of our farmland preservation plan reviews as well. So when Abby started, a bulk of her work was spent in code enforcement as far as her time. And now, and that we're talking to her, she's probably down to 25 to 33% of her time is spent on code enforcement. So in other words, she's kind of hit that level where she's caught up. So I had asked Abby to put together, because I believe it's important to come to the committee and kind of make you aware of where we're spending our time on code enforcement, what kind of violations do we see that are the most common. And so she's got a very short PowerPoint here, but one of the things, and that I'd like to highlight, is since she started in July of 2024, we've handled 87 complaints, and about 68 of those were in our current year. Of that total amount, 76 complaints have been closed, and so that's about an 87% compliance rate. 15 complaints we actually issued citations on. Now, a lot of those citations, that's a fairly high number, I would say, for land use if you looked at comparing to other counties. But a lot of those citations, that they're meant to be tools to, say, hey, we mean business. You got to bring your property into compliance. And then if they do so, then we'll dismiss that forfeiture amount through the court system. So there's probably very few of those citations that have actually went all the way through and that we're trying to collect on. So currently, there's about 11 complaints that are active. But that number will go up and down. And so in the complaint world, it seems like you'll go a long time, maybe even a couple months, not have any complaints, and then you might get 4 or 5 in a week. And so especially seasonally and that. So like when the leaves fall off in the fall, you can usually see a lot more junk and stuff. And so we get usually a few phone calls then. So as far as the complaint breakdown, you can see the highest ones here, junk by far. Sanitary was pretty high this year. That's probably due to the Amish. And then unpermitted uses being higher again, and at the Amish, but even like we had last month, party business that was operating without a permits, those are in there. A little bit of camper, people residing in campers, and some other very small stuff, but those are your top 3 violations. So, and again, on the junk violation, our ordinance says that you can only have 2,000 square feet or 2% of your rear backyard, and that, so it's the maximum of those two. And then sanitary violations in the state of Wisconsin, you can't discharge any black water, of course, or any gray water. So laundry water, that kind of stuff needs to be going into your sanitary system. And then unpermitted uses is just that they didn't have the correct permit. So, and then organizing the complaints by town, you can see Springfield, Katy. Again, those are probably higher in that because of the Amish. But Star Prairie, Somerset, and that they're very high too, and we don't really have any Amish in that area. So with that, I really wanted Abby to be here tonight because I think she's done a really good job. And I think overall, the code enforcement side has seen a huge improvement. But that doesn't happen either without Julie Weber with our Corp Counsel's office. It does take a lot of time. She's always available and that for Abby. And you do need somebody to at least push it a little bit farther sometimes, even though we really haven't started any court cases up to this point with these. Any questions?
Yes.
Okay.
I went and met with the town of Star Prairie here just, I think it was right after our last county board meeting here, beginning of the month. And one of the things that, you know, when I go there, I always ask, well, is there concerns? And they still have a few that are really super long-standing. I know one of them is at least 12 years and another one is 8 years, that the violations are on a continuous basis. And they're just asking what's, you know, when are we going to see something on this? And, you know, I try to tell them that, you know, it's a difficult process to go through and everything, but as the clock keeps ticking and we're out this far, it's hard to relate how to deal with this. I'm not going to name the people outright, but there's two individuals that are in particular that they bring up to me every time. So the one individual has enough stuff in his yard that you hardly know what color the grass is. And he's got items all the way out into the road right away. And the other one isn't that much better. But anyway, the deal is, I guess what we'd like to do is be able to have contact with them to see what we can do and how we can address these and actually come up with a plan, how this is going to happen for the future, whether we have to deal something with them where we work as a team so that, is it that we do a cleanup effort and then they bill for the cost of the cleanup, then they can do a special assessment. So there's tools out there that may be available. We can't do special assessments, but the town can. Hate to go to that extreme, but on the other side, it's been a very patient wait to get these things taken care of. So I'd like to at least, you know, have a discussion with them to see where we're at and what we can do to remedy the problems. So, but
So
on the
the
other
town-
side, oh, go ahead.
Sorry. So the town did bring those two properties to my attention at the October WTA meeting. And so I know that Abby and that, so we've got our standard code enforcement process and that we follow it. Some would say it's probably pretty aggressive and that, but it does deliver good results in a fairly efficient time frame. And so I know that we're working through that process and that because we do it the same on every property, regardless of its past. But I do know that we've got a fairly large judgment to the tune of around $50,000 on the one property. So we've already went through that code enforcement process on that one, and we would be to the point of a county cleanup, working with the towns and that for the special assessment costs. So unfortunately, that's not a quick process. So anyway, but both properties are being worked on.
Thank you. And other than that, on some of the other things, I really also want, it sounds like I'm talking real negative, but there has been an extremely positive results that has come apart from your department on doing a lot of the, especially the teamwork working with the Amish and a lot of the things that you've been doing that really need accommodation. I mean, thank you so much for all the efforts that your team has put together to make those things happen. And it's really helped us to stay current with all of these people and to bring them into compliance. So thank you.
Yeah, Abby does a great job and that, so all of the towns get a copy of all of our correspondence too. So that was one of the common complaints that I heard all the time is we don't even know if it's being addressed, you know, and so I haven't heard anything like that since Abby's been on board, so. All right.
So I'll move on to item number 5 on the business agenda is presentation of the 2025 park improvements.
Good evening, committee. J.R. Ballard, I'm the Parks Administrator. So tonight, thanks for the opportunity to give you an update on our parks in 2025. Basically an overview of what happened in this last year. It's been pretty busy at the parks. So first I'll start off just talking about the 2025 numbers. We did this last year as well. So this year we took in about $370,000 in total revenue. We sold about 9,000 park passes, combined daily and seasonal annual passes, and then had about 3,900 camping nights at Glen Hills County Park. So, as you may recall from last year, we implemented a new reservation and point of sale system back last fall. And then actually brought it on board in January. We started selling our park passes and taking camping reservations using that system. It started out a little rough just because it was a new system, so we needed to kind of get our bearings and do a little bit of learning on the fly, so to speak. But by the end of the year, we've got the system down pretty well. We've gotten good feedback from our customers, as well as we've had a kind of a closer relationship with the Civic Rec folks. We've told them some of the improvements that we'd like to see. We have gotten some feedback from customers as well about the mobile site not working quite as well. Out of our hands, however, Civic Rec is working on those fixes and hopefully making them better in the future. So we've also, basically we've been selling park passes on there, camping reservations, shelter rentals, permits for commercial use at the park or special event permits, paying violations. And then we've also collaborated with our other divisions within the community development. So the Land and Water Division actually has done their tree sale on the Civic Rec site, which has been really helpful for them, as well as we've worked with the UW Extension and some of their workshops have been put on our Civic Rec site. So in October, we had a company called Ventec come out and install pay boxes at a few of the parks. So Glen Hills got a single pay box, and then Homestead Park in Troy Beach got a pay box and gate system. The reason Glen Hills doesn't have a gate system yet is because we still we have camping there, and so our Ventec system and our Civic Rec system don't quite talk yet. So we're not able to give somebody a pass to get into the park if they're camping, but we're working through that. So I think eventually that's what you'll see. We did plan for the future when we installed that pay box to have gates later on if we need them. So, but in October they came, they installed the gates and the pay boxes at Homestead and Troy Beach. We're kind of in a testing phase right now, which is perfect because we're still trying to transition out of the 2025 pass, which is a different system and it's not a swipeable card that we are starting to sell in 2026. So December 2nd, we started selling the pass for 2026. special card that our customers will use. And like I said, it's much different than 2025. So we're just transitioning out of 25 into 26. So these gates will be implemented in January, early January. So next I'll talk about a lot of the parking projects that we had over the year. I'm gonna start on the east side of the county and kind of work my way west. So back in September of 2024, we broke ground on the entrance and bathroom buildings at Peninsula Campground. Here's our brand new entrance building. So kind of the positives that we found with it is that it's got a drive-up window. So customers, they used to have to get out to come and check in at Peninsula, go into our building, or we had a window there too, but it was on the wrong side of the road. So now they'll be able to pull right up with their camper, check in with our staff, and go right to their campsite. The entrance building also has a 24/7 vestibule, which is going to be pretty nice. So inside there is a restroom. There's a charging station that'll be in there, an informational screen. So if there's bad weather coming or any sort of weather forecast, we'll be able to give that ahead of time to them. As well as because it's 24/7, it can kind of be a little bit of a storm shelter. It's not a FEMA shelter of its sort, but it is somewhere that they can go if there's a thunderstorm and that, or a windstorm, that they'll be able to kind of have a little bit of a safe spot to go to because it will be open 24/7. The same time that we built the entrance building, we also built the bathroom building. This bathroom building, we used some grant funding to also assist us. So it was a Knowles Nelson Stewardship Grant. This bathroom building replaced our 1970s era bathroom building that was at the front of the park. So anybody that was camping at the back of the park, they had to basically drive to go and take their shower. This new building is centrally located now within the middle of the park. So really everybody has access to that shower building, restroom shower building. They're all individual. There's 4 individual stalls. They're all private. You can lock the door behind you, and very family friendly, all ADA accessible. The next project at Glen Hills is an access trail that we built, also with the DNR grant. Previously, if you wanted to go from our day use side to Peninsula or vice versa, you had to use Rustic Road 3. That included our visitors as well as our staff. So when they needed to mow the lawn at Peninsula, they needed to take the lawnmower along Rustic Road 3. As well as a UTV if they needed to go over with the UTV to sell firewood, any sort of that. Very dangerous if you've been on Rustic Road 3. So we have built this new access trail. So this is now connecting the 2 sides. The bridge was actually completed yesterday, or actually, excuse me, today. Today the bridge was completed. That was part of that grant that we used for as a trail grant. This trail is also secondarily part of the snowmobile trail that goes through Glen Hills. So it has a dual purpose in the winter, which is quite nice because we won't use it in the winter, but it will be used for the snowmobile in the winter. So as the snowmobile coordinator, I've brought that to the association. They're very excited that they'll have full access through the park. Before they had to turn, the groomer had to turn around because that was Beaver Creek. There was no bridge. They had to turn around, come all the way around. So not the whole trail ever was groomed. So they're very excited for that. This is just some pictures of the demo that we've done with the pit toilets. So all shower building, all 1970s era pit toilets, pretty dirty, pretty dark. There was no light in there. With the new improvements that we've got, we've either replaced these pit toilets with, say, the restroom building, or have plans to replace with new facilities that are much cleaner and just have a much better look to them. So there were 6 vault toilets and 1 shower building in all that we demoed. So this is Whispering Oaks. This is that new long-term camping facility that we have. This replaced our old group campsite that was really underutilized. We didn't get a lot of use of that area. So what we did was we expanded 12 sites. They were already footprinted in, made them much larger, kind of gave more space to each campsite, as well as we put water and electric to the sites. So there, like I said, there's 12. 6 of the sites were reserved this last summer. First year, 50% I feel like is pretty good for the first year. So I think once the word gets out that more people will be interested in the long-term camping. So this is all 30-day or more camping if you're coming to the park. So this is one of the first Huff Cut building bathrooms that we have planned to replace some pit toilets, as well as this is going in between Whispering Oaks and Vista Prairie. So right now, there's only porta potties for those 2 campground sites. So this will be a new Huff Cut. We've already started construction on it. So basically in the spring, they're gonna bring that Huff Cut building. It's a prefabbed building, and they'll put it in place in April for next summer. So we're pretty excited that we'll have a new facility. So 4 separate private restroom. Again, it's very similar to the Peninsula bathroom facility that we already have. They'll have showers and ADA accessible restroom. And like I said, it'll be right in between. I have just kind of an aerial here of that location of where it'll be at. So it'll be easy for both campgrounds to access. So working our way west, Pine Lake Park and Boat Landing. So definitely got a facelift. That park had needed it, I think, if you've been to that park before. So we first off, we put a brand new ADA boat dock there. So a much wider boat dock that's ADA accessible. Took the old boat dock out of there. We also then demoed that pit toilet that you see on the before picture and put in a brand new Huff Cut restroom facility. Again, much cleaner, much brighter, better look. We've gotten many compliments already from the public on the improvements. We also took down the old pavilion. As you can see the bottom right there, it was in pretty rough shape. It was probably unsafe. So we tore that down and built a brand new pavilion. So hopefully the residents of Baldwin, since it's so close, maybe will utilize that pavilion more often now. Plus, we actually brought that pavilion closer to the parking lot, so that way too, a little closer for ADA accessibility. Put in a new kiosk last year with the help of facilities department here at the county, so they built that for us. Good collaboration. And then we also paved the parking lot with the highway department. So they came in and helped us out as well with collaboration and putting in a parking lot, a paved parking lot. So with one ADA accessible parking spot. So again, moving west, so Homestead Park, we're kind of already started this fall in the prepping of that. We're gonna put in a new Huff Cut bathroom building. It'll be a 4-stall. So it'll be near the picnic area and the watercraft area, if you're familiar with Homestead Park, at the bottom of the hill near the cul-de-sac. 2 of the 4 private restroom areas will have showers in them. So that way our visitors that go to the beach, they're able to shower off before they go make their way to their vehicle. So they're not tracking all that sand home. We're also planning to do a pit toilet or 2 pit toilets near the beach at Homestead Park. So currently, again, 2 porta potties that are sitting there. So these 2 Huff Cut vault toilets will go in place and much cleaner look. just images of where those locations are going to be, where that footprint is. So on the left is the 4 stall near the watercraft and picnic area, and the 2 stalls near the beach. Finally, I wanted to talk about Eckert Blufflands. So our newest park that's coming. So this summer we had staff, and as you can see the list there is a lot also volunteers that came to help build mountain bike trails and walking trails. So basically we had 2 staff, seasonal staff that had background in trail construction that did a lot of the work. And then in the evenings, these volunteers would come to help kind of do the finishing touches off the mountain bike trails. We also, parks went to Wiki, if you're familiar with the Willow River Kinney Mountain Bike Association. They had their end of year kind of gala, and we went there and kind of told them about the trail. They were very excited about the trails that are coming in to the new park. We also constructed a walking trail kind of within or near the mountain bike trails and where the future parking lot and entrance will be. So we worked with the Western Wisconsin Realtors Association. They had a grant that we applied for and received. So they helped us to basically class 5 this trail. We've already seen that people are using it. The public is going, even those neighbors that live within Eckert Bluffland are using this trail and that. So we kind of look forward when we met with them in October to take these pictures. We talked about possibly future collaboration together. So they might be helping us in the future with Eckert Blufflands and maybe more trail development. So pending any questions, that's all I have for the parks tonight.
My first question has to do with the new pay stations. Do we have any estimate on potential cost savings after installing those?
Right, so if I recollect, I think there were 20,000, right, Jason, for each pay station. When you look at a seasonal staff member working, right, so when we had those window hours that we had at Homestead, so those are basically a 12-hour shift that we have every single day all summer long from Memorial Day to Labor Day. There is no day off in between there, so that's 12 hours at approximately $17 to $18 an hour for those seasonal staff to sit in there. So we expect a pay station to really kind of pay for themselves within a summer.
Okay, good. And then my second one comes from one of our residents from Hudson. And you see him here often, Bud Fuchs. Some of you might remember Everett Fuchs, retired biologist. And he has some very specific and pointed ideas about how to position potential fishing sites in some of the parks, and in particular to make them ADA accessible. He has some details here. I think at this point it's probably just appropriate to forward them on.
Yes,
Should I
please.
just send them to Jason and
Yeah.
Jason can share? Okay, all right.
Absolutely. Yep.
Bud, we hear you.
And I should back up to your previous question,
Yeah.
Supervisor Rice, is that our goal isn't to have necessarily less staff. Our goal is to get our staff out and maintaining the parks and having a presence within the parks, right? And making sure that, one, people are following rules, but being there to answer questions when people have those kind of questions while they're at the park. So,
Okay, thanks.
I just have one comment, and from my construction background, sorry to pick apart details, but, and the new Glen Hills Peninsula building, that drive-up window, you have that overhang that sits over there. Have you thought about putting a metal bollard out there?
we
so
are,
that
yeah.
It doesn't get hit?
Yep, we
Okay.
definitely are.
Good.
Yep, we have
Good.
thought about that, and we've thought about what those tall fifth wheelers would do to our roofing. So, yep, we have planned ahead on that one. Absolutely.
And I just had two quick questions. I know you have the new access trail that you pointed out. Is that specifically just for the public going to be walking and bike, or is it also going to be considered for golf cart or any other?
Yeah, it's just for walking and bike. Yep, we don't currently allow golf carts over on the day use side, and that. So yeah, it'll strictly just be for walking or biking for the public, and then for the staff, we'll be able to drive UTV. We could drive a truck. That bridge is pretty good construction. So
Okay. And then the other question now, just looking at, I noticed on those Huff Cut ones, they have a bunch of them had the showers in them. So how are those set up then? Is it like a big holding tank underneath the building, or?
So at which park? At Glen Hills?
Well, you had two different types. You had one that the Huff Cut that
Yeah,
had
so we have
4
the
showers.
Huff
and
Cut
then-
shower at Glen Hills will actually hook up to our we have a septic system there.
Okay,
So that'll hook straight up to that. But the Homestead, the future one, that one, we believe we're gonna need to do probably a holding tank, just because it is really close to the lake, and so that one we'll have to probably do a holding tank for that.
okay. That was the only questions I had. Does anybody else have anything? No? I want to thank you very much.
Yeah.
Got a lot done this year.
We did. We had a very busy year. We got a lot done, but much needed improvements at the parks, and I think the public will really enjoy them.
I'll add to that, yeah. I mean, really kudos, both for the grant writing to find the funding and the execution. Everything looked great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys for your support of all these projects. I mean, these are all possible because you approved them. I know the staff had all the great ideas and did all the work, but without your approval and support, it doesn't work either. So thank you.
Right. I'd also like to just add that throughout the last year, Parks has also evaluated all their other expenses. And so as we get a rainy summer like we had, or maybe we don't have as many guests and that for whatever reason, we can't always control our revenues, but we can control our expenses. And so they evaluated everything right down to their trash collection at each park. But the gates are twofold in that it is really to save downtime at the window. And so Homestead and Troy Beach, the reason behind the gates, and I can't emphasize enough on that, we're going to try to really market it as trying to be a positive thing, is because before we had staff members, 2 per day to cover that 12-hour shift. Plus we had a floater driving around the park all the time trying to find the empty parking spots so that we didn't overflow the park. And so the gates, they're a lot more money, and that about $35,000 per setup. But that is really to take and manage the traffic going in and out. So it'll count the cars going in, count them coming out. And so that is crucial for our busier parks or our parks with limited parking like Troy Beach. Also, Troy Beach in the past, we haven't had much for seasonal hours in that. So whenever we could staff it, that's when the park facility was open. And so we're hoping that we can take and provide that facility for more hours or more days throughout the year, because we're not waiting on a seasonal to be able to go down there and open it up. So we can open it as soon as the road is clear in the spring and the flooding waters are down, of course, and then also open it or shut it down once we get rainy, sleet weather where we're not able to plow that road going down because it's pretty steep. So hopefully that'll provide a bigger window for the public to use that facility as well. And all the Huff Cut buildings that you see, I realize that they're various colors and stuff and that, but everything would be matched with our county color code and that for that, just like the one out at Pine Lake is.
Thank you.
Great job. Thank you very much. Now for the important part. Oh, we got another.
Which is still important.
Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it that way. I already did check because we had comments on it, so, thank you. So item 6, we're at update the railroad properties of Hudson LLC rezone in the village of North Hudson.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this item on the agenda is related to the public comment and that we had heard. Oddly enough, or a strange coincidence, that our Community Development Department is also assisting the Village of North Hudson with their comprehensive plan amendment. We've been doing it for over a year. It's not unique in that to the Village of North Hudson. We're doing the Village of Baldwin right now, and also Deer Park and Hammond. And so last night at the Village's Planning Commission meeting, they discussed, 1, the comprehensive plan amendment, and 2, the actual rezoning of the parcel. And so the Village's comprehensive plan that was adopted back in 2006 didn't take and actually code the south parcel of the railroad property anything for future land use. It was left white on the map. Oversight or what at the time, being the old railroad. And so the village clerk went back and really evaluated, what that parcel was zoned going back into the 60s and 70s. And basically it was industrial. And then at one point it showed up as conservancy on the map. However, the railroad was still using it, so there was some inconsistency there. There wasn't any rezone documents, like public hearing notices or anything like that, that would have changed it to conservancy. However, early 70s, that's when general comprehensive zoning was just getting its start. That's when the county got our first general zoning ordinance, our surrounding counties as well. So if there was the adoption of a comprehensive zoning ordinance, there wouldn't have needed to be any public hearing documents. It would have been just on their new map that they filed. So we don't know exactly that history. but there is some unknown. And so last night at the Plan Commission, the Plan Commission Board took and made a motion that was approved unanimously by the Plan Commission to rezone the railroad properties of Hudson LLC property south of the Trestle property there from industrial, commercial, conservancy to RM1, which is low-density multifamily housing. And so that was what they suggested to their village board for adoption. And so the village board will be taking up that, and that in January. On the comprehensive plan, since these two are both kind of happening at the same time, they are trying, or they've given us the direction as staff that they want to guide that parcel for conservancy, commercial, and residential. So all 3 uses is what they just today had given us for direction moving forward. And that was the result of their meeting last night. So they made a motion to recommend approval of the comprehensive plan to the village board with that parcel being designated that way. Previously, they had a category of vacant, commercial / residential, so they took and replaced vacant with conservancy. So that's where we're at to this point. The county does own properties around there. The city of Hudson also has a property. Most of these properties were all acquired as part of the dam. So even though there's that one property that we show 100% ownership, I think it's probably owned actually as the shared interest like we have with the dam. So that's 50% county, 20% village, 20% city, 10% town. But yeah. Supervisor Shirley.
So the property that they're looking to rezone, do we have easement rights on that property to cross?
So there's a lot of complicated title work in this area because it goes back and that to the dam and the power company, but, and those are documents, I believe, were in 1963. So it says that we've got some access to it, but it doesn't necessarily call out like how much area. And obviously, we've been using the property for the last 60 years roughly. And so there's always a prescriptive easement that could be sought for that. The city of Hudson does all of the maintenance on the dam. We're just a financial partner. I will say in that they do a good job on that with the dam, monitoring it for compliance, and it's fairly reasonable for all the owners in that to do so.
So the question would be, if the village moves forward with that rezone, how do we ensure that we have access to the dam?
Well, I think the proposed developer has also took and said that they were gonna allow us to have access. And so that access to the dam for maintenance of the dam has never really been a question, so,
That'd come up in the development plan, not the rezone, be the next step, right?
yep.
Right.
Yeah, Supervisor Rice.
Well, a couple questions first. In your experience, Jason, have you ever seen a piece of property designated conservancy, commercial and residential in a comprehensive plan?
No, no, and in
It's
fact, we
kind of
would
like check a
suggest
box.
against it, you know, and that, because you can't have your cake and eat it too, you know, so, generally you wanna try to guide the property for what you want, because those are really three different uses. Usually, commercial doesn't go right next to conservancy, or residential doesn't go right next to conservancy, so, they're
That's
usually separated uses.
Okay. And another, as an adjoining property owner, I would think you or an administrator would be the contacts. What kind of communication have you had? This has been going on for months, I know. But in a prior conversation, we talked, and has the administrator with the village been in contact with you recently?
So, well, I was on a Teams meeting with her today about something different, and that, but all we got for this and that was the actual hearing notice about the rezone. And that, so that they did notify us as an adjoining property owner, but the county in the past hasn't taken stance on properties and that are next to the county's property.
And when you reached out, what kind of a response have you received?
When I reached out,
To the village administrator?
so I tried, like 2 weeks ago, tried calling, the voicemail was full. I called on the 8th, I left a message, to talk about this issue and also the comprehensive plan. And then, called in that this morning as well as a follow-up in that to last night's meeting and left a message. And so I haven't been able to make connection with Gina and that from the village on this. The Teams meeting we had today was on the Hudson Sewer Service area, so a different planning document, and that is being worked on by West Central Regional Planning Commission.
Didn't all three of you meet this past summer and discuss it?
Yep, and that, so Mike Johnson, Community Development Director for the City of Hudson, and Gina and I met, and we were talking about that whole area as far as like a park. After that, we had brought it back to the Community Development Committee to say, you know, is there any interest in the county being interested in a park or doing something with those properties down there? The city didn't really have any interest in doing anything with the park there since it is technically in the village. Also, and that the village, they're like, we're having a hard enough time maintaining the parks that we've got. And so we don't really have any interest in developing more parks. And when we brought it to the committee at that time, or at least staff, we use like the outdoor rec plan as our guiding document for applying for these grants and stuff to try to further our county parks and the bike and ped plan. And so the guidance that we had gotten from the committee at that time was Eckert Blufflands is the park that we want to develop in that area. And the Highway 35 bike corridor trail, that is our priority for the bike and ped side of it to connect Stillwater all the way down to the Hudson.
Do we know the city of Hudson's stance on this? Because, I mean, they're the ones with extraterritorial rights on it, so.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how they are on the zoning change and that, so, yeah, or what their stance. I don't believe they've taken any formal action as a village council or a city council on the matter, though, that I'm aware of.
They did have a discussion. Would it be okay if we have a member of the public fill in the blank there?
Sure.
Yeah,
It's
go
up to
ahead,
the chair.
Celeste.
Yeah, I attended the August 20th, 2025 special meeting of the Hudson Common Council on this matter. And also, you can watch that meeting online on YouTube. I'd encourage you to do so. They had an emergency meeting because August 20th, 2025 was the first public hearing at the Village of North Hudson on this rezone request. They had to redo that because the notice was defective. They forgot to notify the DNR. And so they had a repeat public hearing October 15th. But on August 20th, what happened in the end is that the city of Hudson voted not to take a position one way or the other. The tie vote was cast by the mayor, and Mayor Rich O'Connor explained that he was voting against the city taking an official position because the discussion was that in order to ever develop anything on that parcel where rezoning is requested, there would have to be an extension of sewer and water, which does not exist. There would also have to be dedication of roadways, which do not exist. All of those things would have to be done by the city of Hudson. The city of Hudson was never going to do it. So there was no need to take a position one way or the other on the rezoning because as a practical matter, it could never, ever, ever be developed. Now, so it was a 3-3 tie vote, and Rich O'Connor broke it. And the city, to my knowledge, has not revisited this topic, but they may, because now there's been a development. The Plan Commission has made a recommendation, which previously at their hearings, they had just voted to delay consideration. And they took it up last night. Any questions about anything? I can, if you have specific questions.
Well, and just to follow up, I've gotten a couple emails on this, as some of you might guess. My understanding is that the technical vote last night was that they voted on an amendment to the comprehensive plan.
Well, I
but
did
they-
attend the meeting of the Plan Commission last night in the Village of North Hudson just to observe because they didn't take any public comment. I also don't live in the village, I live in the town, so I'm on the other side of the lake. Yeah. It appeared that if you rewatch the tape from last night or you watched it live, there was a motion made about 8 minutes and 20 seconds in to recommend approval of the comprehensive plan to the Board of Trustees. Then there was a motion made about a minute later to amend that to come up to amend the plan so it would have that 3-part conservancy, commercial, industrial, whatever it is. It wasn't clear which maps they were amending, but there was a motion to amend and a second. There was quite a bit of discussion on that. And then there was a vote to approve the amendment to the main motion. The main motion was moved and seconded to recommend the whole comp plan to the Board of Trustees. But they skipped having a vote on the main motion before they went on to the next agenda item, which was the proposed rezone of this Trestle Bridge property. That's the way it is on the tape, and that's the way it appeared to people who were there in the meeting. We pointed that out to Paul Mahler, their village attorney, at the end of the meeting. I don't know what, if anything's happened since then.
Okay, thank you. So I had come today, my concern has to do with the county's responsibility to maintain the value of the properties that we have. and in public comment, the way it was framed, I think was very good by Celeste. And, that just has to do with how do we protect the value of our property and make sure that, and I wrote it down here, I think, make sure that we're able to provide the services that we need to, not just the dam, but any other services that might be needed there. I'd like to see us preserve this as an option for the future. I'm not recommending any changes to our budget. I had come here prepared to make a motion, and then I realized that I really needed to do that in the request for future agenda items. So expect that will be forthcoming. So that's just it.
Does anybody have any more? Thank you, and thanks, Celeste. Financial report.
Now your favorite part of the meeting. All right, so a couple of the numbers that we try to keep track of so we can see what's going on. One is the Register of Deeds fees. So we're at 984, about 54,000 higher than we were last year at the same time. And so it looks like we'll easily hit the $1 million that we have budgeted for the year. So that's a good thing, both from a financial perspective for the county and also because it's a marker of what's going on in the economy in St. Croix County. Recycling, everything's good there. They're on track. Hazardous waste, they had a little bit of money left over. That's good. On parks then, you heard JR's presentation. There's the 368,000. That is lower. We've been seeing sort of a declining trend. This is getting back to more pre-COVID levels of where the revenues were. And so we're seeing that. But JR has also done a really good job on net wages and fringes. You can see we're down also on our labor cost. If you look at the bottom number, it's that negative 214,000. So they've spent more money, but a lot of it is the capital improvements, 193,000 in capital improvements. They've used some fund balance and also under their other professional services. They've been using some fund balance to do some of these parks improvements that JR went over that everyone liked. So that's where the costs are. Fairgrounds, nothing to see there. UW Extension, not much to see there. They're negative because we use fund balance applied to cover the extra educators, so that will be red at the end of the year. Resource, land, and water. Really, the negative that you're seeing at the bottom here is grant revenues that have not come in yet. So we'll get those probably in January or February. Planning department, nothing much to see there. Zoning, they're in the black, so that's all good. And then economic development is right where they would be at this time of year. So any questions on anything in the financial reports? Be happy to read it line by line for you.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, no thanks. That's what I get every month.
Does anybody have any questions? All right, thank you very much. So now, under future agenda items. Go ahead.
Looking at me.
Yeah.
Let's see. Resolution opposing the rezoning for the railroad properties mentioned previously.
Okay.
I'd also like, I don't know, I know what our committee membership rules are, but Dennis Hesselink has not been showing up to these meetings. I think he's been to one that I can recall. So I'd just like to revisit that membership. And then it may be too busy for the agenda next month, but I attended an online meeting regarding regulation of concentrated animal feeding operations that had to do not so much with water issues, but instead a growing problem with managing fire and emergency response because there are some fumes and gases. So Would like to see us, lift that up. Lisa Dorr from Polk County is pretty familiar with this topic. But minimally, I think we need to take a look at how we are collaborating with the fire and emergency response areas. These tend to be located in pretty rural parts of the county, much as we've talked about the 10-mile Creek project. So that's it for future agenda items, and I'll defer to Jason on the timing for when we pick up things like the, regulating CAFOs for emergency response.
Anyone else have anything for future agenda? Oh. All right. Seeing none, any announcements?
Scott, Supervisor Connor, I did receive a call from Mr. Hesselink today. He did intend on coming tonight, but with the weather, he asked if he could please be excused. So I did receive that call this afternoon. So he was planning on coming.
Thank you for pointing that out. And it was bad roads.
Yes.
So, all right. Any other announcements?
I've got a couple announcements. So today we got our aquatic invasive species grant for about $10,700. So that's kind of a grant that's pretty easy to get, but we did get that for next year. Also, within the last week and a half here, we got our conservation aids grant, and that for a larger amount. It's not a big grant. It's about $4,300, $4,400. And that project that we identified was to finish out our Pine Lake improvements. And so that will be installing a sport fishing pier and that by the landing there. And so that is the goal. So that kind of links into what you brought up, Supervisor Rice, about the shore fishing opportunities within the parks. So that's something that we'll be looking at next year as well. One of the things in that we've been fortunate enough to be able to receive a lot of Knowles Nelson stewardship dollars in the last couple of years, and that currently is not funded at the state level. So that is one of the things that we're watching. We might have a much smaller grant application window, but that would be for like the improvements at Eckert, and that was what we were planning for next year. So, so we're watching that closely. The recreational trail program grant that is still funded, and so we're looking at probably in February we'll have that to you because we got to submit by March 1st. So we'll actually have it to you next month actually because we got to get it through county board too. So
Really, my announcement's related to dates of next meetings. So just so you remember, since we're hitting that election cycle, there's 3 county board meetings left, which means only the next 2 months of committee meetings will have any actionable items moving forward to the county board. That March meeting, if there's something that needs action, you guys will still meet and take that up. But if it needs to be forwarded to the county board, it goes to that May one. So we try to not put anything real heavy on that because you're recommending it to a new board at that point. So Jason had gone over his whole work plan, his goals for next year. He has the most goals of any department head. And he's got a lot of work for community development coming up. So when you make your committee selections next time around, you might keep that in mind. If you want to sign back up for this or not. But those chapters, those ordinance reviews are going to wait until the new cycle. So.
I don't know if this qualifies as an announcement, it's just news, but there's in Pierce County, outside of River Falls, there's a biodigester. I sent Jason the link to the article. In its first day of operation, they had an explosion. Yeah, imagine that. The buildings are not insulated and the pipes froze. So, but the fire department was called out, and fortunately it was River Falls and they could respond. If anyone wants to see this article, there'll be more news coming on it, but Jason has a link to the Pierce County Journal article.
Do you know where that was it? South of River Falls?
It's Vanguard Renewables, and I think they have like 300 head of cattle, and they were supposed to, I think they were bringing in some materials from the Twin Cities. I think they had the idea that they were going to be burning off food waste and things in addition to what they produced on the farm. So, yeah, Vanguard Renewables, a town of River Falls is where it's located. Yeah.
It's on the Peterson Dairy Farm south of River Falls. So, and they're a combination of organics recycling or food waste recycling. So even processed packaged food that expires, they depackage it there, put it into the digester, mix it with manure, and so it kind of makes a two-part process. So, yep, product. So River Falls is served a little bit with it. They've got a small amount going there, but it's mainly coming out of the metro area.
And are there any other announcements? Oh, go ahead.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody.
Yes. All right.
So, Mr. Chair, if I could, future agenda items, and that we do have some ordinances that could be worked on. If you would like to have a work session right after the beginning of the new year, we have Supervisor Van Summeren's suggestion and that to bring up how many home occupations you can have. With that would be an amendment to Chapter 15. There's a couple of DAT cap, basically cross-references that we need to take and tweak in that for them. So that would be something. We had gotten feedback from the DNR. We met with them on Monday on Chapter 17, which would be along the St. Croix Riverway ordinance. So not a lot of big changes there and that, and a lot of formatting and stuff. And then Chapter 21 is our solid waste recycling ordinance. And that ordinance we do need to have done before the April county board meeting in order to apply for our recycling grant next year, because there was some changes at the state level in the administrative code. And that ordinance just could use a bunch of cleanup and streamlining. So that's what's kind of there. That's the only one that's really needs to get done, and that by April. The other two could wait if you're inclined to do so.
So you're suggesting maybe a work session?
Yep, and if you don't want to have the work session, we can probably handle 21 in the January committee meeting. I mean, I don't foresee that it's going to take us that long to go through it.
Well,
I say we get them done. We should.
so you want to do a work session then?
Sometime
So-
in January.
We normally meet Thursdays. Our next meeting would be the 15th. We could do the week before on Thursday, the 8th.
Oh, I'll be here if you want to be here. That's fine.
It's also the week of the board meeting, but it'd be either, we would either do it before or after, otherwise it'd be either the 8th or the 22nd.
I'm out of town for the 22nd, so
You're what?
I'm out of town on the 22nd, so.
So the 8th?
It's the 8th.
Does that work? So we'll plan for 5 PM then on the 8th of January?
Yep, that works for us. And then we would probably schedule the public hearings for the February Community Development Committee. If you have a lot of changes that come out of the work session, we would be able to present them at least in a packet item and that to you at the January committee meeting. So, and then that would put us on track for adoption by county board maybe in March.
Okay.
No.
Go ahead.
Since we're talking scheduling, we had talked about maybe unbundling CUPs and other rezonings from regular agenda. I don't know if that's something we still want to do. Today wasn't as extensive as others, you know, as we're within the 2-hour mark, but you want to just hold on that idea?
Well, we talked to Jason a little bit about that, and one of the things we're looking at that, as we discuss for the agendas, is if it looks like we're gonna be in a situation where it may be an extended meeting, the intent is to try to keep things at about 2.5, no more than 3, not do 4.5 or 4-hour meetings. So if we start getting to that, then we would bring up the potential for doing a second meeting. Go ahead.
I would just assume we did a work session if we needed to do that in
Yes.
between there. Yeah, just much more productive.
Well, in the CUPs, it's better to stay on the base schedule because of the notices and all that stuff.
But for anything else except for the financial statement, which we all look forward to, we could move that around.
You get 2 in a month.
Yeah,
There you go.
we could. We could get a mid-month, how about a mid-month financial
You're gonna
report?
get Ken too excited.
to adjourn.
All right. So any other announcements? All right. Date of the next meeting, January 15th. Well, actually, it'll be January 8th.
8th, right?
So January 8th and then the week after, January 15th, so,
The year is 2026.
of 2026. All right. Seeing that, guess we better double check, turn the page over. Okay, yep, adjournment. Thank you. So 6:55.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
That's
Thank
like-
you. Merry Christmas.
It's like we didn't even start yet. It's only 6:55.